Hi, welcome back to Unscripted with
Aditi.
and Haley, where we take you behind the scenes of our acting journeys.
And today, our episode is going to be on tips and advice to upcoming and beginner actors so that, we can share our 2 cents on the industry and what we know, being actors.
Yeah. Just want to start off with a little disclaimer. Of course, we are not the end all be all, and you should get advice from a bunch of different sources. I think that's what's helped both of us grow in our careers and has brought us to where we are now. So, yeah.
Okay, I feel like a major question that comes up with beginner actors is like managers and agents. So
Absolutely.
let's like put down like what the difference is between a manager and an agent.
Yeah, so basically, I'll explain what a manager is and then she'll explain what an agent is. So, a manager is going to be something that honestly I feel like, especially if you're trying to break out into film, is something that you should find first, but also it doesn't really matter which one you have. A manager is going to find you if you don't already have an agent. They're going to find you an agent. They're going to handle all your bookings. They're going to send you out on auditions. And a manager usually is smaller offices, which means they're going to have less clients, so it's going to be more tailored to you. Um, of course, it also depends on what management you're with. If you're with a bigger management, it will be less personal, but if you're with a smaller management, um, they'll just kind of be able to handle everything. Um, and yeah, and so they're going to help you find projects. Me personally, whenever I found my manager, she helped me find my agent, and so she got me meetings with agencies in LA, and I went to those meetings over Zoom because the industry has kind of changed a bunch. Yeah.
Yeah, so again, just like a manager, they kind of help you in all aspects of your career. Because technically, I like to think about it like this: it's like you're a brand, um, and so it's their job to kind of work on the legal stuff, um, finding you the right people. Once you start to sort of have more exposure, and do premieres and stuff, they help you find your publicists and all those kinds of things. But agents are more catered to find you auditions. That's kind of their primary goal. Okay, next question. How often should you update your headshots?
So, I think what I've always been told is just change them as you change. So once you look different, whenever you're younger, it's like any of the teen actors watching, you're definitely gonna have to change them a lot more often, probably once about every year. And then as you get older and you start kind of looking the same, it's just again like if you get a haircut, like if your hair's super long and you cut it really short, you're gonna want to change them. If you dye your hair pink, you're gonna want to change them, and you plan on keeping it pink for a really long time. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So then I want to hit, because obviously, like, you actors, they don't have much experience. So I think a major thing that pops up is where do I get experience? Where do I find legit auditions as a beginner actor? And I think I would say go on Backstage and go on Actors Access. You will find breakdowns there, but you kind of have to be careful sometimes.
So SAG is the union, and if you don't know what that is, I will go into a whole other episode about like all the phrases and all the terms that you need to know. Um, but basically, SAG is the acting union, and they will protect you. So if you go to a job, you're guaranteed pay, you're guaranteed like certain things, right? But if you do a project that's non-union, you are not protected, which is a little bit risky, but also we don't want to use this to scare you because non-union projects are also amazing and you can get credit for them. It helps you build your resume so that you can go get agents and managers and book those series regular roles and book those, lead roles in a film. So definitely don't discredit them, but also approach them with caution. Um, yeah, and then I think another question that a lot of people have is do you have to be in LA or New York to have these auditions? So,
Yeah, I think I would say because now everything is in self-tape
self-tape.
form. Um, Me and Haley personally, we do not live in LA or New York, but
No.
we are still getting those auditions coming in. So I
And still
think
hearing
that
back too.
Yeah, 1000%.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, depending on like where you live, join. Usually, there's Facebook groups in like your major cities. So, like for example, if you live in Georgia, I know there's a lot of like Atlanta Facebook groups where they will post like short films and stuff like that. Or like if you live in Massachusetts, there's probably like Boston Film Societies, and they'll post like casting calls. Um, so yeah, so that's like a good way to get experience, but also to show that there is definitely projects filming, not just in New York and LA.
Yeah, and I think you just kind of have to explore, and I you will definitely find
Fun
projects
thing.
around you, and if you can't, then you can make your own, you know. It's easy to you just take your iPhone, film a short film with your friends, whatever, and that way you can still build your portfolio and, get some experience that way.
Absolutely. And then you can upload these clips onto your actors access profile, your backstage profile, things like that, so that casting directors can, maybe find you, or they'll be able to, on top of viewing your auditions, see kind of your range that you have as an actor. And then as we're giving you advice here on this episode, there is a lot of mixed opinions on the way that the industry works and the ins and outs and how everything flows and how you should do things and approach things and how to go on your journey. Um, with these different opinions comes a lot of red flags. So, we're going to be talking about what our red flags are to watch out for when someone is trying to give you help on your career. And again, take this very lightly. We are our own people. We've had our own journeys, and they're both different from even just the two of us have different journeys. But this is just, a few things that we think you should look out for.
If an agency or management reach out to you and ask you a certain amount of money to, be part of their agency or management, that is a red flag. You should not be paying at all to get an agent or manager. The only way an agent and manager get paid is once you work, and you get your money from that. That's how they get paid. Also, I think a major thing is if someone guarantees that you're going to be a star or going to be on the next hit Netflix TV show or movie, that is a major red flag because no one can guarantee you that. No one
Yes,
can guarantee you that.
I 100% agree with all of those. I think also just pay attention to competitive people. This industry can be very competitive and very cutthroat, and that is really sad because it was built on like passion and just, people having genuine love for being creative. So I think just pay attention for people that are competitive that might be throwing you some bait, but in the complete wrong direction. Um, yeah. And also, anything where you have to pay, be very careful with. Like I know there's a lot of legit workshops, and what you should look for in a legit workshop is it's maybe a couple $100s. There's going to be an agent there, and they're not promising that they're going to sign you. They're just saying that you can put your material in front of them, and you will be in a room with them, but they're not promising anything. Things where you want to look out for is if it's like multiple days, maybe like a boot camp type program, is what I feel like they would call it. And then where they guarantee that you're going to get signed at the end of it and you owe thousands, I'm talking like thousands of dollars up front, and then hear nothing. And then they scam you into going to like another round of boot camps or things like that. And then you owe more thousands of dollars. So, yeah, I will say be careful with that. There's a lot of that in this industry. The most the most important things to spend your money on is your Actors Access subscription to upload videos and photos, Casting Network subscription if you want to do commercial work, and Backstage, I think is free, but there might be a premium version that you can get, and I would say spend your money on that if you're a beginner. But beyond that, don't spend too much money on those boot camp things unless they're by an acting studio that also offers classes, is what I will say. Like, it shouldn't be just a here's your materials and you're going to be signed.
Yeah, I definitely would say just do your research thoroughly before you pay for anything. I think the most important things pay for like a good self-tape setup with a background, with lights, a good camera. You can just use your iPhone. the casting websites, Actors Access, Casting Networks, Backstage. And then that's, again, like Haley said, that's all you really need to pay for.
Invest in, yeah.
And then
Professionals.
acting classes, of course, acting classes. This kind of, goes into like our next set of questions. Is acting, are acting classes really necessary? And to that, I have to say yes.
Yes, especially if you're not consistently working. If you're consistently working, it's understandable. I would still say like work with a coach um on like those specific scripts, but of course that's like up to you and how far you are into your process. I think personally, no matter how many roles I book, I would always work with an acting coach. I think it's just better to have like an outside view and then also just build your confidence in the character. And they can kind of help you find any missing pieces because sometimes there's things that even though I've looked at thousands of scripts, I might miss something or some part of the character that an acting coach will help me bring out. So I definitely think it's necessary.
Yeah, and I would also say, like, from when I started to now, I feel like I'm always growing because of classes, because of the people that I get to watch, and because of the feedback that I get. So again, like acting classes are really, really important. Um, what is your advice to for someone who feels overwhelmed and doesn't know where to begin?
I think just take it day by day. And I think that's something that I'm still learning, definitely. But with this, we have been trying to figure out ways we can, build college apps and stuff like that because we both want to go to film school and like figuring out, you know, all the little things. But I think just starting with something small and building up to something big because the odds of becoming something big overnight is very slim. And if it does happen to you, you're very lucky and congratulations, and that's amazing. But for most people, you genuinely have to start with something small. So my advice would be to start with something small that can make your career bigger every single day and do something small every single day. Like we filmed the podcast and then we edit it and then we post it. Take the small steps daily to get to your end goal. And that's how it's going to happen flawlessly and with the smallest amount of stress possible.
Yeah, and adding on to that, try to figure out everything that you can do in this moment today. Writing your own scripts or filming your own little short films, gathering a couple of friends to, do that just so that you can build your portfolio and just kind of work on your craft consistently and daily. Again, classes is a great way to do that. Read books, read different types of books. And watch YouTube videos. What I love watching personally, love watching Actors on Actors by Variety. I think that has helped me really gain an insight on how such huge actors think and how they work on their craft and all of that. So I think again, just like Haley said, do the little steps every single day, and you will see that will add up, and you're gonna succeed.
Absolutely. And then, there's so much happening in this industry. There's so many different teen actors, teen stars. How do you stay confident that everything's going to work out while the industry remains so competitive and so saturated?
I think I kind of let go of that. I think that I just try because I love acting, that's why I'm doing it.
Mhm.
Um, and every audition is an opportunity for me to sort of flex that muscle. Doing classes, auditioning, talking to you is kind of what keeps me grounded. And of course, like sometimes the competition does get to you when you're doing multiple auditions a week and not hearing back. Of course, it gets to you, but I think
Absolutely.
just knowing that one day, you're going to hear that yes, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. And especially like if you've heard that yes before, you're going to hear it again. It might take a while, it might take years, it might take days, it might take months, but you'll hear it again. And especially if you're dedicated and you keep working at it, you're going to hear it again. And so,
Yes,
yeah, just kind of
1000%.
stay optimistic.
Stay optimistic and just you're doing this because you love this. You love acting. So just remember that throughout the journey and don't give up. So now I think we want to switch gears and go into specifically the craft.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a question. How do you tap into a vulnerable scene, an emotional scene, a deep scene?
I would like to shout out Miss Sherry Shaw, our amazing acting coach, who has taught me how to do effective memory work. And I think it's um it's a combination of really tapping into that deep place. I think finding an outside stimuli to help trigger a specific emotion, like crying, it can be listening to a song right before you do a scene, or finding that one line that when you hear that word, it like just makes you break. And obviously that takes practice and time. Like I remember whenever I was struggling with being able to cry on cue, every single night in my bed before I'd go to sleep, I would make myself cry because I was so determined to get it right. And now I'm able to not only make myself cry, but also feel in my body that emotion.
Yeah, 1000%. I think, again, like I do effective memory work, but also what I love to do is I love to create certain memories of the character from their
Mm-hmm.
childhood, their relationship with their parents, and kind of just have these specific memories so that it's just easier for me to become the character, because obviously, like individually, we all have our own memories, our own experience. So creating like certain moments and memories for the character really does help tap into that vulnerability.
Absolutely. Okay, I would love to know, what do you do when you feel like stuck or disconnected from a character?
Honestly, I feel like that happens to every actor at some point. Certain characters are just kind of harder to tap into sometimes, but I think for me, I do my whole process where I create the life of the character. But when I feel stuck or disconnected, I like to just take a moment and step away from the script. And what I do is I have like my acting journal, um, and I write as if I'm the character. I write a couple
I was
pages.
gonna say that. I was gonna say I write. That is so. Any new actors out there do that.
Yeah,
If you're stuck, write a day in the life of the character.
yeah, yeah, that's what I do. I feel like just writing as the character is so helpful because you start coming up with like new ideas, new emotions, new feelings, and you just write it and it just kind of internalizes the character so much
Mhm.
better. So if you're feeling stuck or disconnected, the best thing that you can do is write as your character. Yeah.
And write to other characters that are either in your scene or you can make up your own characters. Like if you don't, like for example, there's so many times where I audition for a film and I don't get the entire script for the film, and so you kind of have to just like piece their life together by yourself. And I think this helps so much. Like I can, for example, say I'm auditioning for a character called Olivia. This is not real, by the way. I'm auditioning for a character Olivia, and I can write a letter to my best friend Jake. And Jake might not be in any of my scenes, but I'm creating Jake in my head as a way for me to be able to tap into that character so I don't feel like I don't know anything that's happening. And
Yeah.
that's the thing is you just have to take a strong point of view on a character and that will help you feel less disconnected. If you just even if you don't know the whole story and you might get that full script one day and you realize that it was actually a heartbreak that led them to be the way that they are. But if you created that it was a romance that made them the way that they are, then you took that strong point of view and it's going to pay off.
Yeah. 1000%. What is the most powerful acting advice that you have ever received, and do you still follow it?
The most powerful acting advice that I've ever received is just to keep going. And I do still follow that. There was actually a time where, if you guys, I don't know if y'all are young or old watching this, but um, we're kind of both in the awkward age where it's like you don't get a lot of auditions because it's like we're too old to play younger, but then we're too young to be playing like 16, 17. Um, and so there was a time period where I felt so unmotivated and I was like, I don't want to do acting. I don't want to go to acting classes. I don't want to like hear about it because it's so frustrating to just not get anything. And then I just, I remember, I think it was something that Sherry had posted on her Instagram and it was just like, just keep going. And then that kind of just inspired me to be like, you know what? Yeah. Like I would be so frustrated because I've been doing acting since I was like literally 4. I would be so frustrated. My 4-year-old self would be so frustrated if I didn't keep going despite the challenges. And so I think as much of a battle as it is, you just got to keep going.
Yeah, 1000%. And I think for me, it's just maintaining like the positivity because and also having that community because our teacher Sherry Shaw, she is genuinely such a sweet and positive person, and she radiates that energy to both of us, and it gives us kind of like a motivation and a reason to keep going. And I think that again, just like remembering that you've gotten this far, you've worked
Hmm.
this hard, you love acting, why do anything else? Because one day you're gonna hear that yes, and that's what that's what keeps me going.
Exactly. And I kind of want to go off the questions that we had prepared, but how do you find a community in acting? Like, how did you find a community in acting? Because community is so important.
Yeah, I think for me, when I first started out, I found Facebook groups. Facebook
Mhm.
groups really, really helped because I was able to ask questions, reach out to people and kind of just learn and make my way into the industry. And having that like support early on really, really did help. So again, just finding a couple of Facebook groups and then joining Sherry Shaw Studios helped me find an amazing, amazing, amazing community for life. Um, I love Haley. I love Sherry. I love all the people that I have gotten to meet through my classes. So just finding, good acting classes where, you're surrounded by positive people and hardworking people, and uplifting people is really, really amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I have to say the same. Join those Facebook groups, reach out to people on TikTok. I know it sounds stupid, but like I definitely you will catch me in the comments of people's TikToks, asking them for advice, especially with applying to film school. Like I've reached out to, film school students and
Same.
sent them a DM, sent them a comment, whatever, get their attention. And they are so, I feel like people in the film industry genuinely are some of the sweetest people ever. And they're willing to talk to you, they're willing to reach out, they're willing to give you advice. And so that's definitely helped me grow in my journey. And yeah, finding a community. It is so important.
I think it's better to reach out and having the possibility of getting an answer rather than just, not reaching out, not asking any questions, and, you know, not hearing and not getting any help.
Exactly. Don't self isolate yourself out of fear. I think it's so much better to just put yourself out there.
Yeah, and especially in this industry, networking and finding those connections is so important. So feel free to reach out to us, to actors on TikTok, Instagram, because they will happily help you.
Help
We
you.
want to help you. So again, like Haley said, don't isolate yourself.
Yeah, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Okay, guys, reach out to us if you have any other questions, and we would be happy to answer them. You can also put them in the comments for us, and we will respond.
That was Unscripted episode 3. Hopefully, you learned a thing or two from this episode. And yeah,
If we miss anything, you can also put some of your favorite tips in the comments.
yeah.
And yeah,
Thank you for
thank you
watching.
for
We
watching.
love you. See you next episode.